Hi folks, I'm at the Northeast Georgia History Center on the campus of Brunel University in Gainesville for a special program today. Frontier No More, the end of the 1830s. This is about what happened after the Trail of Tears, after the Indian Removal Act, when there was no longer a frontier here and people began to settle down. So let's go explore, see what they're doing today. They have reenactors. As I said, these guys are volunteers. It's always fun, it's always educational. So let's go see what's going on. Love the folk art. This appears to be a cartoonist's workstation. Ed Dodd. I'm guessing the artist pretty obviously who created this cartoon, Mark Trail. I'm guessing it must have been an adventure kind of comic strip, because there's a lot of stuff to indicate a man of adventure. Apparently Mark Trail was a well-known comic strip and comic book and spawned other merchandise as well. Okay. If any of you guys watching this remember Mark Trail, why don't you comment and let me know. I have a comic book collection, and when I was a little boy I read the funny papers every day, but I don't remember Mark Trail. Tell me about him. Here we have a bust of the artist Ed Dodd as part of this retrospective of his art here. Apparently Ed was a man of action. His saddle blanket, and his rather ornate chaps. Looks like a mountain lion on there, and maybe a white-tailed buck with some fish. Probably a bass or a trout, and even geese flying up. Very, very nice chap. Hand tool leather. I bet that cost a pretty penny. As I've said before in other videos, when it comes to folk art in Georgia, nothing is as omnipresent as the face jug and other forms of pottery. One of these days I'm going to do a vlog and show you guys my collection. Here's a nice little display that brings to mind those in the North Georgia Folk Pottery Museum that I visited in another of my vlogs. If you're interested in folk pottery at all, I can't recommend that place enough. It's a cross between the classic and the rustic, and its architecture and decor with some of the finest examples of folk pottery in the North Georgia tradition you're likely to find anywhere in this world. And if you remember that video, it appears this display is dedicated to Lanier Metters. One could probably call him the godfather of the North Georgia folk pottery movement. Craven and Crocker. Wilson and Hewell. Cheever Metters, Lanier Metters, Cleet and Annie. These are all royalty in North Georgia folk pottery. This is kind of the equivalent of the folk art crown jewels here in North Georgia. Well, here's some North Georgia history that goes way back. That's good too. If you see my vlog about the North Georgia Environmental and Heritage Center, you've seen some prehistoric artifacts quite extensively in that one as well, some dinosaur bones and eggs. Looks like some kind of primitive Dungeons and Dragons dice. I guess that big one's the 20-sided. Blade's too long for throwing. I guess it threw the arrow of the spear out of balance. An atlatl. I've seen an expert demonstrate throwing a small arrow with one of these things using leverage, and if you're good at it, it can be deadly. Very ornate. Yeah, this is kind of what the special program here is about today. It's really a sad tale. The Indian Removal Act was enforced in a lot of other places in the South, but for a long time in Georgia, it was not. In fact, the native peoples and the settlers, after a while, after the 1820s, began to live in relative peace. It wasn't until gold was discovered on Deuce Creek that the settlers began to insist that the Indian Removal Act was enforced so they could get at that gold. Being a settler, being a pioneer, sounds romantic, but I imagine a lot of it was this. Hard work, clearing a home out of the land, and then trying to keep the land from taking it back. Now, y'all may have seen or not seen my vlog on the Dahlonega General Store. Well, this is probably what a general store really looked like back in the days when this land was being settled. Not huge. Took a lot of effort to build buildings so far out on the edge small apothecary here, it seems. Lighting's not very good, I apologize. But you get some idea of the medicines. Of course, Atlanta is well known as having been started as a railroad terminus, and the railroad was very important, of course, after that in the outlying areas, and when manufacturing cranked up here, the railroad became a very important part of this community as well, a little deeper into the 1800s. And would you look at that? I wonder if this feller is one of my kinfolks. What about it? Y'all see a resemblance? Old hymn book, it looks like. Wait, is that another ivy? Well, this is a museum. It is in the South. So wouldn't you be just a little bit disappointed were there not an example of a moonshine still? An old switchboard. I reckon this is how you got the wash done back in the day. It's how you washed your wash rags. I wonder if anybody listened to Orson Welles' War of the Worlds on this old radio. Yeah. Wait, what? Oops. A devastating tornado struck Gainesville in 1936. It destroyed much of it, forced them to rebuild. It was a horrible tragedy with loss of life. Afterwards, the city, the modern city you see now, was built. What we have here, apparently, is a machine that generates tornadoes. A nice little display with a taxidermy rooster looking all proud. And why not? It looks like he just took Best in Show. Well, that's it, folks. Thanks for joining me today at the Northeast Georgia History Center. I hope you've enjoyed this trip back in time. More to come. Stay with us. Bye.